she gets hungry for dinner at 8. She loves the theater and never comes late. She never bothers with people she hates. That's why the lady is a tramp.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Double T podcast. We are broadcasting live from our Western Massachusetts studio. Every election has an October surprise. And I do believe we have several. Now, I'm going to get to the first one. This is the longest one. Pay attention, because this might be the biggest one. This is about our vice presidential nominee, Tim Walz, or as they used to call him in Nebraska when he was pretending to be a head coach, Touchdown Timmy. Touchdown Timmy has been accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a male student, which included an Indigo Girls concert, which he was supposed to go to with the student with his wife, which she wasn't there. She was there, but those two sat alone. After the concert, he asked the kid if he was hungry and took him to what turned out to be a gay bar for a meal. And then the kid spent the night at the Waltz home and engaged in inappropriate sexual behavior. Here was a kid. Let me give you a little backstory. Waltz formed a club at the school for the best way for me to describe it is kids that didn't feel that they fit in, and it turned out to be a club for gay kids, and that didn't come out or were afraid to come out. And Waltz made these kids feel safe, secure, and then took advantage of their trust. Coincidentally, now this relationship went on for a little while, and when this was discovered, there was a meeting of the school board, and coincidentally, Waltz and his wife, who was also a teacher at the school, resigned from that Nebraska school on the same day. And the incident was kind of swept under the rug. And Waltz ended up in Minnesota. However, the male student is now ready to come forward and file a lawsuit as a victim, and I'm going to give you the details, okay? Now, I am going to read this to you directly off. This is way too long to take notes on, and I wanted to make sure that it was accurate so you can also see it. The student contacted somebody on the X platform named Black Insurrectionalist. And this is a guy who helps people like this. The kid's the kid's moniker, I'm guessing it's either on YouTube or X, is at capital D, lowercase OC, capital N, lowercase ET, and then YouTube. So at DocNet YouTube. And he contacted Black Insurrectionalist and explained this to him. And this was the response that he received from Black Insurrectionalist. When I received a tip back in August claiming Tim Waltz had an inappropriate relationship with a minor, I was very skeptical. I get dozens of tips and direct messages per day. In fact, I did not act on this tip for a few days because I thought it would be impossible to prove the allegations. I also knew that Harris and Waltz would deny the allegations. However, the tipster gave me specific details. So I sent an email to the Harris campaign and the official VP account. Why the VP account? Because the account is required by law to keep the emails in accordance with the Presidential Records Act. So I sent an email only a couple of days after Waltz was announced, asking the Harris campaign about Tim Waltz taking a trip with a minor to an Indigo Girls concert. I did not expect Gwen Waltz to make a comment to a reporter about it in an unrelated story shortly thereafter. It seemed, though, they were trying to get out in front of the story. I also sent an email to all of the above accounts, and I don't have those accounts to read to you. Days after Waltz was announced, that the specific source had told me that Gwen Waltz did not have her children via IVF. This was weeks, perhaps months ahead of the MSM. I contacted the schools in Nebraska and in Minnesota. While I must confess, the Minnesota school did not comment to me and tell me that Tim Waltz was an upstanding teacher and citizen. The school in Nebraska Alliance refused to comment to me at all. However, one part that the tipster story did not make sense to me. The date of the Indigo Girls concert. Tipster claimed it was 1995, but I could not find anything corresponding to that date. The tipster told the truth. There was a concert in 1995, and the tipster claimed that Waltz got a DUI months after the concert. The dates of my emails to the Harris campaign and the VP account were weeks/months ahead of any stories about any of the mainstream media stories about specific details given by the tipster. If I am not being truthful, the Harris campaign can crush my story. However, I videotaped my emails with dates and the fact that the first submissions were received in accordance with the Presidential Records Act and will serve as a timestamp as I indeed put them on notice. And I did indeed have details that nobody else in the country had those specific periods of time. I also documented my numerous phone calls. Tim Waltz lied about almost every single detail of his life. Him and his wife have been getting a pass from the mainstream media. Yesterday, I received numerous threats. In fact, some of the threats were scary, as some of the accounts were brand new accounts and had my personal information in my investigation. I also emailed all the major news outlets while my investigation was in progress. I have every single receipt. I also made a cryptic post on my timeline weeks ago where I asked my followers if they would ever allow their kids to spend the night at the teacher's house and go to a concert with a teacher. This post was made before the admission of Waltz and did indeed take a student to a concert. Furthermore, this was done years before he became an advocate for gay and transgender people. These allegations are serious, and I waited months to release it, not because I was looking to hijack an election. My emails to the Harris campaign and the VP account will prove I put them on notice in August, and all of these allegations I waited on this story because of how difficult these allegations are to prove. I wanted to give Tim Waltz every opportunity imaginable to explain the details. I have also found out that there are other journalists who had parts of this story but did not print it or withheld the information. It is my plan to release the story tomorrow. I have gone out of my way to give Harris and Waltz the opportunity to flat out deny the allegations, but they have really done the opposite. In fact, the statements to various articles that they have confirmed much of the story. The only allegations about the tipster stories that I cannot prove is that Waltz indeed had a sexual relationship with a minor. That is, Waltz versus the tipster. But every aspect of the tipster story turned out to be true, including Waltz being fired from his football job in Nebraska and the fact that Waltz brought a student to an Indigo Girls concert. The timestamp preserved emails will show the details of Tim Waltz not previously known and known by the tipster. I would like to make one last point. It is clear that there is a pedophilia problem not only with Hollywood, but in Washington as well. I can guarantee it's not just the Democrats either. So that was the response from Black Insurrectionalist. So, question in my mind, and if you want to do a little research, you can certainly do it. All these trips that Tim Walz made to China and all the comments that he made, how he was treated like a king there, and all the pictures that you see of Tim Walz when he was in China are with young men. Now, I'd be the last one to accuse anybody of being a pedophile, because once that accusation is hurled out, it can't be taken back. Even if you're absolved and it's proven not true, anytime your name is mentioned, they're going to think of you as a pedophile. But there is something off about this guy. There is something definitely off about this guy. And you know, since my last podcast, when I said to you that I completely think that she should have chose Josh Shapiro, I think she did choose Josh Shapiro. And I think Josh Shapiro saw the writing on the wall and refused. That's what I think. So I think Waltz was a last-minute candidate for her. I don't think he was properly vetted. And I don't think that Waltz is qualified in any way, shape, or form to be a heartbeat away from the presidency. I stand firmly on that statement. So his wife is off too. I mean, these two make a perfect couple. You know, to turn the page and she's singing songs out there. And I mean, this is a rough campaign. And now, you know, Kamala has been accused of plagiarism in her 2019 book, Smart on Crime. She's been accused of plagiarizing from Wikipedia. She's been accused of plagiarizing from another author, and she also was accused of plagiarizing some lines from a Martin Luther King speech. Now, I got news for you. I mean, it might be the Italian in me, it might be the temper on me, but if I'm running for a public office, and if I'm running to lead people, no matter what, if it's in a job, if it's in politics, no matter what the situation is, I don't care if it's the Elks Club. If somebody accused me of being a pedophile or being a plagiarist, I'd be down their fucking throats in a second, because I am not going to let anybody accuse me of something that I am not, or something that I have not done. And I will die on that hill defending myself. These people ignore it. When you ignore an allegation that's that big, you're hiding something. And you can take that to the bank. Now, I noticed over the past couple of weeks, Kamala they're digging deep, man. They're in panic mode on the Democratic side. They are in panic mode. They are neck and neck in the polls, which is bad for Kamala. Okay, she is nowhere near where she needs to be to win this election. Okay, you ain't hearing too much about Trump. Trump's not doing much to piss anybody off. I mean, he just packed 100,000 people into Coachella. I mean, could you imagine 100,000 people coming to see a former president talk? It was just like 100,000 people in Wildwood. I mean, California is the bluest state that we own. I was pretty impressed by that. But now, Kamala's bringing out the big guns. Okay? She's bringing out Obama, who is now playing the role of angry Obama because things are not going his way. Now, I'll tell you something about Obama. Obama, as Jeremiah Wright said, Obama's a Mac Daddy. Obama will go down in history as one of the most divisive presidents in history. He, as a black man, did more to hurt racial relations in this country than anybody I know. Okay? He all the progress that was made, he just divided the country. All right. And he was a beautiful speaker. I mean, you could be hypnotized by an Obama speech. The problem is he never said anything. He would just lull you with words. He's a brilliant guy. Don't get me wrong. You don't get elected president by being stupid. But Obama, angry man right now because his third term's not going that well. And his girl, the girl he wanted in 2020 who couldn't get one delegate, is on the verge of getting smacked down by someone that he hates. Okay? And he's out there and he's pissed off because black men are not supporting Kamala the way they should. So he's out there and he's spinning his bullshit, and it's sad to watch. Okay? And the other big gun, this was absolutely funny. The other big gun is Bill Clinton. Now they got Bill Clinton out there in a camo hat that says Harris Waltz. I mean, the camo thing has become hysterical because they're trying to show that Tim Waltz is a guy's guy, and they brought him out with a shotgun and they were shooting pheasants. He couldn't even load the rifle. You mean this guy goes hunting? This guy doesn't go hunting. He couldn't even load his own rifle. They think the American people are stupid. And they were stupid because they put it on the air. I mean, if that happened, I wouldn't have put it on the air. So they got Bill Clinton out there. And so Bill Clinton did what I think is one of the greatest Bill Clinton moves ever. Just like he did when he was running for president and he was jogging, he stopped at McDonald's. Now, who doesn't remember Bill Clinton going to McDonald's? Saturday Night Live used to do it. And it was the greatest thing in the world when Clinton went to McDonald's, right? Clinton walks into a McDonald's. There's nobody in the place. And he goes up to the counter and he says to the girl to get some food. And she's looking at him. And he says, "Don't you know who I am?" And she goes, "You're Joe." And he said, she thought he was Joe Biden. And he says, "No, I'm Bill." She goes, "Bill Clinton?" And she came out from around the back of the counter and she gave him a hug. And then all the people that were working in the back came out and they were taking pictures of him. Imagine 25 years later, you're a president and you're not even relevant any longer. She thought he was Joe Biden. Oh my God. I mean, is that not a travesty? I mean, it certainly beats living with Hillary. I'd go out on the road to do anything. I'd go out on the road to paint lines, not to live with Hillary. Okay? I mean, she's the most evil woman in the world, as far as I'm concerned. But anyhow, last point. Kamala is now on a last Blitz media tour. Now, we are 20 days away from the biggest election in our nation's history. I think this is one of the most important elections ever. And Kamala, see, here's the problem. They tried hiding her. They tried the basement strategy like they did with Biden in 20. And that wasn't working because Trump is out every day. Trump is out every day giving either 3 or 4 major interviews, town halls, rallies. Trump is talking to the press every single day. You can't, I mean, I don't know how the guy does it personally. I don't know how he does it, but this guy's got stamina like nobody I know. And so Kamala, they finally said, "We got to send her out. You know, we've got to get her out of here." So they sent her out. And they sent her out and they set her up with some softball stuff. She did Howard Stern. Now, Howard Stern, I used to be a Howard Stern fanatic. I listened to Howard Stern for 25 years. And then all of a sudden, Howard Stern went woke. And I canceled my subscription to Sirius. And I will never listen to Howard Stern again because he is such a piece of shit now that the things that made him famous, he just threw away. He's not edgy no more. He's just, I put him in a category with The View, which is the next interview that Kamala did. She went on The View, which is what I call witching hour. I am so glad that they're not renewing Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg's contract. That show should be canceled. Poor Barbara Walters. When Barbara Walters had that show was a good show. All right. Barbara Walters was a good interviewer. She had good guests. She asked good questions. These people that are on that show now are just a bunch of vultures. And Sonny Holston said to Kamala, and this was the takeaway from the whole thing. She said to her in the most important question she asked, she says, "Is there anything different that you would have done other than what President Biden did? I mean, is there any difference between you and President Biden? Would you have done anything differently?" And she paused for a second. She goes, "There's not a thing that comes to mind." Okay, there's your answer. Look at where we are. Remember Ronald Reagan's quote in the debate with Carter. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Well, the answer is no. She's been running the joint for the last 4 years. She was part of the conspiracy that hid Joe Biden's cognitive decline. Why would you want this person to lead your country with that degenerate as a vice president? That is the scariest thing that I can think of. She's got 2 more interviews coming up that I'm interested to see. She's going to do an interview on Fox with Brett Baer, which I think will be a good interview because Brett Baer will ask her some good questions. He's kind of like a Tim Russert kind of guy where he'll show you a clip of what you said and then ask you why your position has changed. He'll make you eat your words. And I don't remember the gentleman's name, but the guy on 60 Minutes did a decent job interviewing her, and she was all over the map. Okay? And she is in talks to do I don't know how she can do this, a 3-hour sit down with Joe Rogan. Now, Trump supposedly is doing one with Rogan. Now, I guess she's going to do one with Rogan. She'll never get past Rogan. Never, ever, ever get past Joe Rogan. Won't happen, folks. So here we are. We're 20 days out from the election. And here's the only advice that I'm going to give you. Vote. I don't care how you vote. Vote. Take a friend to vote. Take a few friends to vote. Volunteer at the polls. Volunteer to bring people to the polls. But vote. It's your God-given right to vote. Take advantage of it. Don't say you don't care and then piss and moan about the results. It's the only advice I can give you. And remember, tomorrow is granted to no one. So take the opportunity and stop and smell the roses. It's well worth it. And if you can do a random act of kindness for someone, take that opportunity. For if you do that random act of kindness, this world will be a much better place to live. This is Double T saying, until we meet again, ciao, ciao.
Memories pressed between the pages of my mind. Memories sweeten through the ages just like wine. Quiet thoughts come floating down and settle softly to the ground like golden autumn leaves around my feet. I touched them and they burst apart with sweet memories, sweet memories of holding hands and red bouquets and twilights trimmed in purple haze, laughing eyes and simple ways, quiet nights and gentle days.